Vinod and Shruti.
Yes, ma'am.
Thanks.
Yes,
What
ma'am.
about you? Yeah. Okay. First, I will finish my class around 40 to 15 minutes only. Followed by, we'll have a small discussion about this or 5 slides I have planned for a quiz. I mean, quiz, picture quiz, something like this. So, followed by start within Shruti, supposed to be cell cycle. Then we'll go for a Vinod repair mechanisms. Okay. Can you able to see my PowerPoint? Any one of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. We will start with a session DNA synthesis, supposed to be my topic. I think the previous class was taken by Dr. Komala ma'am. She told me I have taught about an DNA structure and this what is DNA, what is the types of RNA and all. Anyone, can you tell me this difference between DNA and RNA? Any one of you? Any volunteers? Akshaya? Yeah, sorry, Ilakia. May audible pa? May audible? May audible?
Oh, yes, ma'am. Audible, ma'am. Question, please.
Yes. So what is the difference between the DNA and the RNA?
DNA is a double-stranded helix and RNA is single-stranded helix, ma'am. DNA contains a deoxyribose group and RNA contains ribose, ma'am.
Okay, fine, good. These are some very basic questions you people are reading from this, I think 7th or 8th standard itself. So in this class, we are going to be deal about this DNA synthesis. So the DNA is the deoxyribonucleic acids. So what is nucleotide? What is nucleoside? Any one of you? Not from Shanmuga Pandey, any others? Anybody? What is the difference between nucleotide and nucleoside?
Nucleoside is nitrogenous base plus ribose sugar, ma'am.
Yes, nucleotide with the addition of a phosphate group.
Phosphate group.
Yes, very good, ma. Okay, so this replication we need a nucleotide. Okay, so in this class, this is my objective of the class. So at the end of the this session, you have to able to differentiate between the replication and this transcription, and you have to tell the descriptive steps of the replication. The third one, the clinical applications. Why I am a medical student? Why I have to know about this replications? With the replication, how I am going to apply for my futures? Okay. So any idea? Before going to this main topic, these are the few questions I want to ask from you people. What is the central dogma of the cell? What do you mean by central dogma of the cell? Anybody?
DNA is transcribed to form mRNA, and by the mRNA it's translated to form proteins.
Yes. So this first one from this double-stranded DNA, it is converted into an mature mRNA. We can call it as a transcription. Then this transcription give information about the synthesis of the protein. That is a translation. Okay. So ultimately, the genetic information is carried in the double-stranded DNA. Is it so? So this is a general dogma of the cell. Start from a transcription, then translations. Okay. So what is the difference between, do you think, a replication and transcription in your mind? Any one of you?
Replication is the formation of daughter DNA from the DNA, ma'am. Whereas
Yes.
transcription is formation of mRNA from the DNA, ma'am.
Yeah. So that is a one difference. Any other difference do you think? When it has happened, where it has happened, at the product you have told me. At the end of this replication, we will get an exact copy of the chromosome, one thing, and the transcription you have told me this is a copy of an mRNA. Okay, so I agree that. Then any other difference? Where it has happened, when it has happened, any idea? Somebody tried to say something, but any other similarity between these two?
In case of
Yeah, in case of? Anybody?
Ma'am, in DNA replication, the DNA polymerase enzyme is used, whereas in transcription, the RNA polymerases are used.
Yeah, yes, then very good. So the one difference is the whole chromosome is going to be duplicated, number one. The second one is the enzyme is going to be differ. Then
When the primer is required,
yeah, the primers required is totally differ. Okay, then any other difference?
Ma'am, in replication, both the strands are replicated. In transcription, only one strand is transcribed to mRNA.
Yeah, very good. In a transcription, only particular segment of the DNA is going to be transcribed. But in replication, there's an entire, even coding region, non-coding region, the whole thing is going to be transcribed or it is replicated. Okay, then anybody want to say something?
Ma'am, for replication, it occurs only when the cell cycle is going to divide, ma'am. Whereas transcription is a continuous process, ma'am.
Yeah, the transcription supposed to be continuous process that is depends upon your environmental change. For example, your pancreas beta cells want to synthesize the insulin. This insulin gene supposed to be stimulated by your glucose. Okay, so that is stimuli you need for a transcription. Sometimes it may be a continuous process, but in a replication, for example, a few protein continuously supposed to be enzymes for an glycolysis supposed to be present continuously in the cells. So that is a continuous process. Transcription may be a continuous process, but replication, when the cells is planned for a cell division, that time only it is going to be occurs. Very good. Then anybody can tell which cells have an replicate frequently. I mean, cell division has cell division happens frequently, and only once happens cell replication, cell division.
Epithelial cells,
Yeah, good. Epithelial cells.
they divide frequently.
That is only epithelial cells. That's a duodenal epithelial cells, and skin, derm cells, hair follicles. So these cells will replicate more faster. Even liver cells also can able to replicate. Then any other cells won't be replicate. Can you give an example?
Neurons.
Yes.
Neurons.
Neurons. So the neuron damage, if it is happened, it is the end of the cell division. So damage will be more for the physiological changes will be more severe. Okay, fine. Okay, now we have you have explained when it has happened, where the replications happen, how it has happens. So the requirement may be changing, depends upon the replication and transcription. This totally is going to be changed. Even for the both the steps, the requirement is going to be differ. Okay. Okay, anybody can explain this picture? I mean, sorry, this picture. What is this?
Ma'am, is this the central dogma?
Yeah, good, fine. So this is the central dogma of the cell. So why I have put this slide? Because replication may be an essay for you, transcription may be essay, translation may be essay, even post-transcription modification for 5 marks for you. The same thing, post-translation modification may be in 5 marks. And the replication, in addition, this DNA repair mechanisms may be in short note for you. And cell cycle may be in 5 marks for you. And repair mechanism and mutations also may be in short note for you. Okay. Then this is about, I think Shruti is going to be explain about this picture. Any one of you, can you tell me this? What does the picture can explain about? Any idea?
Cell cycle, ma'am.
Yeah, it's a cell cycle. Very good. So the cell cycle, even the cell division doesn't happen just like that. For that, you need a stimuli. So in zero, here you can see the zero, G0 is an resting phase. Yeah, followed by there's a stimuli. The G1 phase is converted into an S phase. The S phase is converted into G2. Then mitosis, followed by mitosis, you will have a cell division. Okay, so here our DNA replication happens in the S phase. Okay, so it is totally takes around 6 to 8 hours. Here this 2N DNA 2N is converted into a 4N. Okay, so the G1 phase, the cell will prepare for the synthesis of this DNA. For example, even the growth and metabolism is needed for a DNA replications also. A normal routine cell metabolism happen in the G1 phase. When the cycle is going to be processed, the end of the G1 phase, it is ready to take a DNA replications. Okay, so these DNA replication, it is regulated by an 4 important proteins. The protein we can call it as in cyclins. The cyclins A, B, except C, B, D, and E. Okay, so the initiation of this S phase, it is mainly carried out by cyclin D. So which is going to be explained by your classmates. And in addition, this cyclin D, these are all proteins can be activated by an cyclin dependent kinases proteins. Okay, so this kinases proteins, and when there is an DNA replication is started, your retinoblastoma gene is going to be phosphorylated. Followed by the phosphorylation, it will suppress this transcription factors E to F. It will suppress the transcription factors. Okay, so when the suppression of this transcription factors occur, your initiation of this S phase is started. Okay, so first we have discussed about the difference between this replication, difference between this replication and the transcription, and when it is happened, where it is happened, what are the things is needed. It is happened during the cell division of the S phase of the cell cycle, one thing, and which is regulated by an cyclin proteins. The cyclin proteins are various types, type A, B, except C, D, and E. Then followed by these proteins are activated and phosphorylated by mainly cyclin dependent kinases proteins. Okay, so during this G1, 2, and S phase, will have a restriction point. This restriction point here you can see. Here you can see this restriction point. This restriction point can be carried out by the cyclin D proteins. That is also that is also catalyzed by cyclin dependent kinases 4 and 6. Okay. So the replication is nothing but it is a transfer of genetic information from a parent DNA to the daughter DNA. So it is almost a semi-conservative. Why we can call it as a semi-conservative? Anybody?
Because one of the strand of the daughter is from the original and other is synthesized.
Yeah, good. So the one of the parent DNA single strand going to be act as a the another one supposed to be a complementary to that one. So which is going to be synthesized. So we can call it as a semi-conservative. Okay. Okay. Then this is supposed to be a newly synthesized one, what we have discussed. So we can call it as a semi-conservative. So this is one, the old one, parent DNA strand. The another one is a newly synthesized. So it is a daughter. So ultimately, the daughter DNA is supposed to be a semi-conservative. Okay. So this is the first generation. We have like this molecules. From this is supposed to be parent. From the original parent, we can get this type of DNA molecules. Followed by the second generation, we will have this type of molecules, DNA molecules. Okay. Now this next few slides, we are going to see about what are the proteins are involved, what are the enzymes are involved. Okay. If you know, if you have paper and pen, please write it because you have to mug it. No other go. So first we will see about this DNA protein. So DNA A protein. So this A protein will recognize the RNA sequence. RNA sequence. What do you mean by this RNA? Any idea? Any idea what do you mean by RNA? RNA sequence opens the duplex at the specific site. The name itself tells you. Yeah, you will have around 1 meter length
of replication.
Yes. You will have a 1 meter length of the DNA sequence where the double strand is going to be unwind, where it is going to be the enzyme DNA polymerase is going to be attached, and where this primase is going to be attached. When the primer is going to be attached, which segment is going to be attached. So that is the where the sequence which is going to be recognized by a DNA protein, we can call it as an RNA sequence or RNA sequence. So this sequence followed by DNA protein, your helicase is going to be attached. This helicase will help to unwind the double-stranded DNA. Sometimes what will happen, this unbinded DNA can be rebind, can be re-annealing, can be reattached. So that can be prevented by your single-strand binding proteins. Okay, so the first one, DNA A protein is going to be identify the ORI sequence, then followed by helicase enzyme is going to be attached in the DNA segment, which will help to unbind the DNA. The third one is DNA C proteins also need for these unbinding of the DNA. Next, primase enzyme. Then next the primase enzyme, otherwise we can call it as a DNA G protein. So these G protein will be helpful to synthesize the RNA primers. Then the single strand DNA binding proteins will helpful to re-annealing or attach this unbinded DNA segments. Next, followed by RNA polymerase will facilitate this DNA activity. DNA gyrase, otherwise we can call it a DNA topoisomerase 2, which will help to relieve the torsion. When there is an unbinding of the DNA, what is going to be happen? There is some kind of torsion which happens in the next end of this DNA segments. So which can be relieved. The torsional is going to be relieved by topoisomerase 1 and 2. So these topoisomerase we are going to see later. So otherwise we can call it the topoisomerase, otherwise we can call it as a DNA gyrase. Okay, so followed by this in a replication, there is a methylase enzyme. The methylase enzyme will methylate the particular sequence, GATC sequence at the ORIC. Okay, so this methylation can be rectified by this and DNA repair mechanisms. So these are the proteins which they are helpful to for the initiation of the replications. So the proteins or the requirements for this replications are DNA A protein, DNA B protein, C, primase, single-stranded DNA binding proteins, RNA polymerase, DNA gyrase, and methylase enzymes. Okay. Next, we will move on to this enzymes. DNA polymerase enzyme will helpful to deoxynucleotide polymerization. Helicase will helpful to unbind this DNA. Topoisomerase will relieve the torsion. Primase will initiate the synthesis of the RNA primer. And single-stranded binding proteins prevent the premature re-annealing of a double-stranded DNA. So these are the keywords we are expecting from you people. You have to write, you have to put it in a box. You have to mention this function of the each enzyme. Sometimes it may be an MCQ for you people. DNA ligase is also used for seals the single strand nick between the nascent chain and this Wakasaki fragment and the lagging strand. Okay, we will see what is Wakasaki fragments and what is the leading strand and lagging strand and all. Okay, so there is a difference between this replication in this RNA and this replication in the prokaryotes and the eukaryotes. For a eukaryotes, the DNA polymerase can be we are called renaming beta, gamma, epsilon, alpha, and delta. Okay, so these are this in the prokaryotes. DNA polymerase 1, 2, 3, and DNA G. Okay, so these are the enzymes. Otherwise, we can differentiate. Helpful to differentiate the prokaryotes and the eukaryotes enzyme activity. Okay, here you can clearly see DNA polymerase 1 will mainly involved in the gap filling the DNA replication and repair and recombinations. DNA polymerase 2 mainly used for DNA proofreading repair mechanisms. Here we have to remember, or this is maybe an MCQ question for you. This DNA polymerase gamma may be an mitochondrial DNA synthesis. So DNA polymerase gamma is important for synthesis of mitochondrial DNA synthesis. While there is a separate, we should know about the mitochondrial DNA synthesis. Any idea? Any one of you? Any one of you guys? Why this is a separate DNA polymerase for this mitochondrial DNA synthesis?
Mitochondrial DNA is a double-stranded circular DNA.
Yeah. So each cell have a separate DNA structure in the mitochondria. Okay. So for that we need a separate DNA polymerase to synthesis the replication for the DNA synthesis. Okay. Then this DNA polymerase 3 we can otherwise call the epsilon, alpha and delta, which is mainly used for leading strand and the lagging strand. Okay. So this is again the same functional activity of this polymerase, DNA polymerase in the human beings. Same picture. Okay. So what are the enzymes involved in proofreading? I will frequently ask the questions, otherwise you people will feel sleepy. You may. Any one of you? So what are the proofreading activities carried out by which DNA polymerase? Any one of you? Shyam Sundar? Shyam Sundar? Santosh? So the polymerase gamma, delta and epsilon will be mainly involved in the proofreading. Okay. So these are steps involved in this DNA replication in eukaryotes. One is identification of this the origin of the replication. The second one is an unbinding, or otherwise we can call it a denaturation of the double-strand DNA to provide a single strand, which is act as a template. Okay, the formation of the replication fork, then the synthesis of RNA primer, both in this leading strand and the lagging strand. Then the initiation of the DNA synthesis mainly by the DNA polymerase, followed by chain elongation, then formation of the replication bubble with the ligation of this newly synthesized DNA segment. Finally, it is a reconstitution of the chromatin structure. Okay, so this is the same picture. This is a site of origin where this replication is going to be initiated, which is going to be binding by this initiator protein DNA A. Then DNA A and this DNA B. So the next thing is a synthesis of the RNA primer by an primase enzyme. Then unbinding of the DNA helicase, and unbinding mainly helped by this helicase and single-stranded DNA binding proteins. Okay. Then here we can clearly see it is an RNA primer. It's an RNA primer followed by this is a helicase will helpful to unbinding. This is a single-stranded binding proteins will prevent this re-annealing. Then this RNA primers, it is attached in this this in the site, followed by your RNA polymerase is going to be synthesize the new strands. Okay, so same thing where this is an RI site. This before this RI site you will have an AT rich sequence. So AT rich sequence will be an easily unwind. Why? It can be easily unwind in the segments AT rich sequence. Any idea?
It has only 2 double bonds.
Yes. So it have a
Two
only
hydrogen bonds.
it have only 2 hydrogen bonds can easily broken by the helicase. Okay. Then this denaturation, binding of this proteins or a binding protein will be attached in the particular site. Then it is helpful to the unbind and denaturation. Followed by the denaturation, your single stranded binding protein is going to be attached. Okay. Then this is an starting of an leading strand, and this is a starting of an lagging strand. Okay, so the main key point here is the synthesis, DNA synthesis only always happens from 5' to 3'. Okay, so the DNA polymerase only can synthesize the newly polymerized DNA segments from the 5' to 3'. Okay. Now I want to ask you people why there is that one side will be a continuously newly synthesized, the opposite is supposed to be a lagging strand. A segments of the discontinuous strands will be happens. Any idea why it's supposed to be happen, ma? So one side will be a continuous strands, the another side, the lagging strand will be in small fragments of RNA primer followed by a newly synthesized newly synthesized DNA segments, then RNA primer, then newly synthesized and DNA strands. So these newly synthesized DNA strand we can call it as an Wakasagi fragments. Okay. So the Wakasagi fragments may be an 5 marks or 2 mark for you, or replication fork may be an 5 mark for you. If they have asked the replication fork as a 5 mark, you have to explain about this. Start with an ORA AT region. What are the ORA binding proteins, followed by the single stranded binding proteins, how it is denatured by this helicase enzyme. Then the enzyme activity start from this 5' N2 and 3'. The another side are also supposed to be same like this 5' to and 3'. Here you can see this is a single strand binding protein. This is an RNA primer. This is the yellow one is an RNA primer. They are followed by, you can have an a DNA polymerase. Then you can newly synthesized DNA is going to be started in this directions. So always the DNA polymerase always will synthesize towards the 5' to 1 at 3', and the bond between the between nucleotide will be a 3' to 1 5' phosphodiester bond. Okay. Why there is a one side will be an a continuous strand, the another side will be a discontinuous strand? Any idea? Any one of you? I didn't ask the question. You people, at least 28 people will be asleep, ma. Any volunteers? If you know, you can say Harnishri, Balamurugan.
Because polymerase acts only from 5' N to 3' N.
Yeah, good. That is the one thing. That is the one answer. I agree, ma. The another answer is a spatial constraint. The spatial, because here you can see this 5' to a leading strand, 5' to 3', it is complementary to this your lagging strand. So there will be an spatial disarrangement may be happens. So avoid the spatial constraint or the spatial disarrangements. The lagging strand little bit going to be wind around. So this wind around will helpful to form the lagging strand. Okay, and that is also helpful to formation of the leading strand continuously. Okay, so this is a two important valid reason. One is an 5' to a 3' supposed to be 5' to 3' direction only. A DNA polymerase can able to synthesize. Number one. The second one is the spatial arrangement supposed to be happen for a lagging strand. A small discrete segments only will helpful to the formation of this new DNA strands. Okay. So the same picture. This is an binding site of this DNA protein, followed by you can have an AT rich sequence. Excuse me. Here you can AT rich sequence. This AT in this bindings DNA DNA A will attach these sequences before this before the AT rich sequence. So this AT rich sequence will be easily unbind by this your DNA B, which is a helicase. Then your DNA single strand binding protein will be attached and will helpful for this unbinding. Okay. So this whole thing is an ATP dependent process. Okay. And this both strands of the parental DNA serve as a template for the synthesis of the new DNA. Two strands are anti-parallel. Here it's a very important key points we are expecting from you people. DNA polymerase read the DNA in the 3' to 5' direction. It can able to synthesis the 5' to a 3' direction. Okay. And the one strand will be made continuously, whereas the another strand will be synthesized in the fragments. So this fragment synthesized mainly by this DNA polymerase. Okay. So the sugar is a ribose with a free OH group at the one end, a 3' end. The strand is anti-parallel, base is complementary to the template. A single primer for a leading strand, it's multiple for the lagging strand. So if they ask this Wakasagi fragments or they ask for the replication fork, so these are the points we are expecting from you people. RNA primase is necessary by the primase enzyme. This RNA primase will the 3' end will be free. Then this next first nucleotide is going to be attached with the 3' end of this end of the ribose 2, it will form the 3' to 5' phosphodiester bond. Okay, mostly this nucleotide long will be for an lagging strand around 10 to 200. Even this in E. coli and all, it is around 2000. Okay, in RNAs, I think this one you will very familiar. This uracil is in the RNA pass with the adenine DNA. Okay, so this is the difference between this prokaryotes and eukaryotes. The origin of replication will be a single point at this prokaryotes. In eukaryotes, it will be a multiple sites. And this is the thing I want to explain you people. This is supposed to be an RNA primer. Here you can see this is an RNA primer. So this RNA primer here, the 3' hydroxyl group, it is form a 3 to 5' phosphodiester. Here you can see 3 to 5 phosphodiester bond. Okay, 3 to 3'5' phosphodiester bond. So this is supposed to be an RNA primer. When this entering of the first nucleotide to this RNA primer, this pyrophosphate is going to be released from this triphosphate. So which is will helpful to addition of this formation of 3'5' phosphodiester bond, because when it is converted into an PI, inorganic phosphate, during that time it will release the energy. This energy can be used for the formation of 3' to 5' phosphodiester bond. Here this is another entering of an nucleotides. Okay, nucleotides. Here you can see the another ending of the nucleotides. Okay. In this picture, can you differentiate this RNA and this DNA? Anybody? You can differentiate. How we can differentiate between here in this picture? How we can differentiate between this DNA, RNA and the DNA? Anybody can say?
Second carbon in RNA contains OH group, whereas in DNA it is absent.
Very good, Pa. Good. So this is again a same picture, 5' and 3'. I mean, this is a parental DNA. Here from the 5' to 3', your RNA synthesis, DNA synthesis from the 5' to 3'. Okay. Again, the same picture. Here you can see the leading strand. The leading strand, which is going to be act as a template. This is an RNA primer followed by a single RNA primer. Your leading strand continuously, it is going to be synthesized by your DNA polymerase. Okay. So before the DNA polymerase, we will have a single stranded binding protein. Then before the single stranded DNA binding proteins, you have a DNA helix. Okay. So this happens in the leading strand. What has happened in the lagging strand? The lagging strand, you will have a same thing. You will have an RNA primer, but it is a multiple RNA primer. Before this RNA primer, you will have a DNA polymerase. Then same thing. So these segments of the DNA we can call it as an Wakasaki fragments. Okay. So the whole strand we can call it as a lagging strand. So this is going to be act as a template for this lagging strand. So this RNA is synthesized. RNA primer can be synthesized in the presence of primase enzyme. So these are the steps for this replication. One is chain elongation, processivity, and proofreading. So chain elongation means nothing but the rate at which the polymerization occurs. Here, the processivity, number of nucleotide added to the nascent chain. A proofreading, identify the error and correct them. We can call it as a proofreading. Okay. So these are the 4 important steps we have to write when there is a replication as an essay. So these are very important key points. The first is the RNA primer is elongated by an RNA polymerase until the another stretch of the RNA is encountered in the lagging strand. The RNA primer is excised by DNA polymerase. One ribonucleotide at the one time. Here the RNA polymerase 1 going to be act as a 2 enzyme. One is a nucleases. It will cleave this RNA primer, and it will also helpful to addiction add often binding often the RNA primer between RNA primer and the newly synthesized DNA strand. So it is also going to be act as a DNA ligase. So this DNA polymerase is going to be act as a two enzyme. One is a nucleases, the another one is an DNA ligases. Okay, so next the gap is going to be filled by this DNA polymerase 1, remaining milk is sealed by a DNA polymerase. Okay, so during this replication, there's a two very problem maybe happens. One is a supercoiling, the another one is a telomere. So how we can prevent the supercoiling? Why the supercoiling supposed to be happens? Any idea? When the supercoiling happens and how the telomere may be a problem for the replications, how we can rectify? Any idea, pa? So these are maybe a Viva question for you people. Anyone can tell me what are the types of and supercoiling at least?
Positive and negative supercoiling.
Yeah, very good. Positive and negative supercoiling. Okay, when you keep this, take a two ropes in a rotated way. When you unbind this rope, the another opposite end will be obviously it is coiling. So the coiling in this right hand side is a positive coiling. When it is a negative left hand side, it is a we can call it as a negative coiling. Okay, so this coiling can be rectified by a two important enzyme. One is a topoisomerase 1, another one is a topoisomerase 2. Okay, so each one we are going to be seeing this later classes. And this telomerase here you can clearly see this end of the chromosome, we can call it as an and telomeres. So here the telomere we can have an n number of TTAGGN. So this is a multiple time repeats of the telomeres present in the end. So during this replication, the RNA primer not able to synthesize the till end of the 3' end. I will show you later. So for that, we need a special enzyme, we can call it as a telomerase. Okay. So I will tell you the telomerase may be in short note for you. Okay. Or sometimes this supercoiling topoisomerase itself may be in and short note for you. So first we will see about the DNA topoisomerase 1. So this is otherwise we can call as an ATP independent nucleation and ligases activity. Okay, here there is a DNA double strand helix. This in double strand helix standard separation, there is some kind of a coiling going to be happen. So this coiling can be nicked and again it is ligated by a topoisomerase 1. So the topoisomerase 1 itself can be act as a DNA gyrase and DNA nucleases, and it can able to cut and it can able to reform, re-annealing this. Can restructure the structure by a ligase, DNA ligase enzyme. So it is happen in the eukaryotes, but in bacteria, it can topoisomerase only will prevent this negative recoiling. It can only prevent the negative recoiling. So this is a stand separation. Here there is an supercoiling can be cutted by here. It can be cut and it can be re-annealing. It can be sealed by DNA ligase. Okay. So in this prokaryotes, what is going to be happen like an E. coli? Here, this is a circular DNA. Here you can see the left half of the circle is folded over in the right side. Okay, so it will act as a positive recoiling. So this positive recoiling can be converted into a negative recoiling by this nicking of the double strand, cutting of this double strand and cleaved, and again it will be converted into this type of a negative supercoiling. So this is happens by this can be done by a topoisomerase 2. So now you can have a negatively supercoiled DNA structure, which can be again it can be rectified by a topoisomerase 1. Okay. So next, the another problem is telomerase. Here you can see the 3' end. Here there is an incomplete nucleosynthesis in the lagging strand. So how it can be rectified? So it can be rectified by a telomerase enzyme. So telomerase enzyme going to be act as a reverse transcriptase. So it will synthesize the DNA strand. It will extend the 3' end of the DNA strand, then followed by, it will add the additional repeats of the template strand. So telomerase going to be act as a reverse transcriptase. It will increase the 3' end of the template strand. Repeats, it will increase. Followed by the telomerase itself, it will give the RNA primer. These are followed by this RNA primer, your DNA polymerase can able to synthesize. Okay, so this is an repeats. This is an telomerase, and there is an incomplete lagging strand. RNA primer not able to synthesize this gap filling system. Okay, so it can be covered by a telomerase. So the telomerase, what will do? The 3' end of this template strand can be extended by a telomerase. So which is going to be act as a reverse transcriptase. Anyone can heard about the reverse transcriptase anywhere? Anywhere? Any other viruses?
I mean HIV virus.
Yeah, the HIV virus. The HIV virus will have a reverse transcriptase which incorporate in the human genome. So same thing like this. Here the reverse transcriptase, the 3' end is going to be happen, followed by this RNA template is a part of this, and telomerase nucleoprotein is synthesized, followed by the RNA primers is synthesized. Next, the DNA polymerase is going to be continuously synthesized. Okay. Finally, the RNA primer is going to be removed. So you can have the gapping is going to be filled. So almost this is that's all about this replications. Next, don't think this formation of the leading strand and lagging strand, how it is synthesized, what are the proteins are involved. Don't stop with that. You have to explain how it is organized. Okay. So what is histones? Any idea? What is histone? What is histone 1? H1 proteins?
H1 histone is a linker.
Yeah, it's a linker protein. So histone we can call it as a nucleoproteins. So the nucleoproteins will helpful to bind the DNA segments. Okay, so it will helpful to bind the DNA segments. How it is attached, how it will helpful to formation of this nucleosomes, any idea? Depends upon the polarity. DNA is what kind of polarity?
It is negative
Negative,
phosphate.
Yeah, it have a lot of phosphate group, so it is a negative. So histone you will have lots of positive amino acids. So the electrostatic interaction between this positive and negative will helpful to the formation of the nucleosome core. Okay, so this is a linker. It's H1 histone H1, and the remaining octamer it is formed by H2A, B, and H3 and H4. Okay. So this is finally the followed by replication. The whole thing it is converted in the nucleosome to a chromatin. Chromatin finally it converted into your chromosomes. Okay. Then finally it will form the metaphase of the chromosomes. Okay. So during this followed by the replication, there is a methylation, acetylation, and phosphorylation, and simulations will be happens. So which will helpful for the chromosomal assembly and gene transcription, and also the condensation of the chromosomes and transcription repressions also can be mediated by simulations. Okay, so this is a summary of this DNA replication. First thing is in helicase unbind this parental double-stranded helix. Then the single-stranded binding protein will stabilize the unbound the parental DNA. Then there's a 5' to 3' direction, the synthesis of this leading strand by the DNA polymerase. Next, the lagging strand is this is discontinuity. The primase is short RNA primer, which is extended by this DNA polymerase to form the Wagasagi fragments. Finally, this RNA primer is replaced by a DNA by the DNA polymerase 1 enzyme. Okay. Then we will go with the clinical applications. Actually, I will always tell my students, if you are planning to write and 5 marks or even essay, you have to write some synopsis. For synopsis, what are things you are going to, for example, I have written objectives, no? So something like this, you have to write a synopsis. So the synopsis, you have to mention the clinical applications. So the clinical applications, Here the cyclins, one it can be induced by an oncovirus or oncogenes can lead to cancer in the patients. Okay. The second thing is an anti-cancer agents will inhibit the topoisomerase. For example, topoisomerase can act as anti-cancer drugs will inhibit the cell divisions. Then DNA chirase enzyme can be inhibited by a ciprofloxacin or norfloxacin. The whole group of floxacin we can call it as a quinolones. Okay. So this antibacterial agent can be treated for any idea, the cipro and ciprofloxacin, norfloxacin, or any idea the quinolones, where we can use for the clinical applications. Clinically, which conditions we can use this quinolone drugs? Any idea, ma? So the norfloxacin, ciprofloxacin can be used for diabetic UTI patients, even GI-induced diarrhea. That and also we can use for ciprofloxacins. Okay. Then the another very important is types of DNA damage. So that is one of the clinical applications of the replication. Okay. And next we will go with the small 5 slides for this. 5 slides for a quiz or an MCQ, something like this. If you have any doubts in this, we will go with for a doubts for 2 minutes, followed by we can go for few slides for a quiz and MCQs. You have any doubts, ma? You have any doubts? Okay. You didn't ask any question. I will start my questions. Okay. Can you identify the picture? This nucleosides. You can put in the chat box. You can identify the picture. It is a nucleoside. It's going to be act as an antiretroviral therapy. Here you can see there's a deoxy form of the deoxy form of this nucleoside cannot able to replicate the cells. So it is mostly used for the HIV treatment. Okay. Next, the questions about the telomers. The telomers are the complex of DNA protein that protect the ends of the linear chromosomes. In most of the normal somatics, telomeres are shortened within each cell divisions. So in stem cells and cancer cells, a telomeric length is maintained in synthesis of telomeres. So what about the true about the telomerase enzyme? You can put in the chat box. You can put in the chat box also. So A is the answer. So identify the function of the enzymes. What is the function of DNA primase? What is the function of DNA primase? DNA helicase?
Primase is used for the synthesis of RNA primer.
Okay. Helicase.
Unwinding of the DNA
Unwind.
strand.
Okay. A DNA ligase.
Ligating the Okazaki fragments.
Okay. Then 1 and 2, 3 and all, you know. Okay. So we'll go for next one. Any idea? This is a picture. I have written this. It's a picture of supercoiling.
Supercoiling.
Yeah. So what the basis of the disease? Any idea? Again, this picture is going to be explained by your colleague. DNA damage. It's a defect in the DNA repair mechanisms. So followed by this DNA repair mechanism defects, the patient will have a skin problem. We can call it xeroderma pigmentosum. Okay. I think I will stop with this my session. I want a feedback from you people. Feedback from you people. Next we will start with the cell cycle seminar. If you have any doubts, you can put it in the chat box, or also you can put it in my WhatsApp also. Okay. I think Shruti is ready with your presentation, ma. Shruti,
Yes, ma'am.
shall we start with your presentation?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, go ahead, ma.
Ma'am, can you stop screen sharing? Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, is it audible?
Yes, ma, you can proceed. You can proceed, ma.
Yes, ma'am. So today, my seminar topic is cell cycle. The cell cycle is a series of events that takes place in a cell that cause it to divide into two daughter cells. So today's objective is to discuss about the phases of cell cycle, then the regulation of cell cycle, and a little about the clinical aspects. So this is how the cell divides. So each cell divides into two daughter cells. This is of the cell cycle, and the last phase, which is the mitotic phase of the cell cycle. Briefly about the phases of the cell cycle. The cell cycle can be described as two phases, which is first is the interphase and next is the mitotic phase. In the interphase, it can be divided as the G0 phase, which is called as a quiescent phase, then the G1 phase, G2 phase, and in between the S phase. So these four phases, it can be constituted in the interphase, and in the mitotic phase, there are four phases: prophase, metaphase, and the telophase. This is a cell in which there is a nucleus, and this nucleus wherein there is the DNA strands which is coiled over the histone molecules. So this is called as a nucleosome. So the condensed form of the nucleosome is called as a chromatin, which again further condenses to form the chromosome. So this is the chromosome. Each chromosome has two sister chromatids, and the two sister chromatids are attached by the centromere. So the whole cell cycle consists of the mitotic phase as well as the interphase. The interphase starts with the G1 phase. G represents the gap. So this is the gap phase. In the G1 phase, which precedes the S phase, it has the replication of all the, that is the synthesis of all the metabolic products and also the centrioles. And the S phase is where there is the DNA synthesis happening and the DNA replication is happening. And the G2 phase is where there is all the enzymes which are forming and the protein synthesis and all the growth factors which is all needed for the mitotic phase. So this is the G0 phase, S phase, G1, S phase, and the G2 phase. In the mitotic phase, this is where the cell division is taking place, where it can be divided into prophase, metaphase, anaphase, as well as the telophase. In the prophase, all the chromosomes are present in a semi-condensed form, and each chromosome has two sister chromatids which are attached to each other by the centromere. Then the centrioles, this forms the mitotic spindle, and the centrioles, they migrate to the either side of the either poles of the cell, and it will form the mitotic spindle apparatus. So this is the migrating centrioles. Then the chromosomes are aligned and these are attached to the spindles. So with the help of a molecule which is called as the kinetochores, which are attached to either side of the spindle, either side of the chromosome. Then in the next phase is the metaphase, in which all the chromosomes are going to be aligned in a single metaphase plate that is in the center, which is called equator. Then in the anaphase, the sister chromatids get separated because the centromere divides, and then the mitotic spindles, it gets shortened, and then it moves towards the poles. Then at last is a telophase, where again it gets splitted into two of the daughter chromosomes, and then a contractile ring which appears, and this helps the cell to divide into two daughter molecules, and then which is followed by the cytokinesis, where the cell cytoplasm is going to divide, and then as a whole, the whole cells are going to divide into two. So this is called as the daughter cells. So here again, all the cell organelles reappear in the telophase. So this is the brief description about the cell cycle phases. Now this is an interphase in which that is a G0 phase, which is a quiescent stage, where this appears to be resting, but all the general metabolic events takes place. Then the G1 phase, which lasts about 12 hours, and all the supply of proteins and organelles, mitochondria, and these all increases and it grows in size. In the S phase, which is the DNA synthetic phase, which lasts about for 6 to 8 hours, in which the amount of the DNA is doubled and the nucleus becomes tetraploid. Then there is the G2 phase, which is where the protein synthesis takes place and the rapid cell growth is there. And the last is the M phase. Then this is all about the cell cycle phases. In the regulation of cell cycle, any cell cannot be dividing as such, so there has to be a restriction to the cell cycle. So the regulation of the cell cycle plays an important role in that case. So the regulation of cell cycle can be learned as the checkpoints. So there are three checkpoints. One is occurring at the G1 phase, at G2 and M. So checkpoint which is there at the G1 is called as the G1 checkpoint or the restriction point. So this is the checkpoint which ensures that the cell is fully grown so that it can be sent to the G2 phase. If the cell has some abnormalities, then the G1 checkpoint, it analyzes it and it stops at the G1 phase. It will not enter into the next. So the adequate reserves and the cell size, and there is a check for the DNA damage if it is there. So that is the role of the G1 checkpoint. It's also called restriction point. Then is a G2 checkpoint, which ensures that there is no data problems with the DNA, and also whether all the chromosomes have been replicated. That is to ensure if it is not proper. And the last is the M checkpoint, where it ensures that the spindle microtubules are correct, because the separation of sister chromatids during anaphase is an irreversible step. So the cycle will not proceed until the kinetochores of each pair of sister chromatids are firmly anchored at least 2 spindle fibers arising from the opposite poles of the cell. So these all checkpoints are very important to check whether all the steps in the cell cycle are going correct. Okay, then what are the molecules which are required for the regulation of cell cycle can be briefly classified into negative regulators and the positive regulators. The main negative regulators are the retinoblastoma and retinoblastoma protein P53 protein and P21. So 53 denotes the weight, which in kilodaltons, and the same. And retinoblastoma proteins, these are the proteins identified in retinoblastoma patients, those who had tumors. These are the negative regulators. So what are negative regulators is, so this retinoblastoma protein is there in phosphorylated form and unphosphorylated form. So normally those are they are in unphosphorylated form, and when they and here P53 again, it is actually in an inactive form in the normally it is inactive. So negative regulators are ones which actually become active on phosphorylation, and when they become active on phosphorylation, they are going to allow the cell cycle to continue. But normally when they are in unphosphorylated state, they are going to halt the cell cycle. So that is what is meant by negative regulators. That is, normally they are going to halt, but when you're going to phosphorylate, then it is going to allow it to continue. Next is the positive regulators, which is the cyclin and the cyclin dependent kinases. So these are the very important regulators in the cell cycle. What are cyclin? And cyclins are of 5 types or 4 types: A, B, D, and E. And cyclin dependent kinases are of 5 types. The cyclin dependent kinases are protein kinases which need cyclin to be binded on it. So if this is a cyclin dependent kinase, then this is the cyclin. So this should bind on it so that the whole complex should be becomes active. So normally this cyclin dependent kinase alone is inactive. Only when this binds, it's going to become active. So for the binding thing, we need phosphate, and after this becomes active, it can phosphorylate the target protein, or it can inphosphorylate the target protein. It depends, and activated protein advances the cell cycle. That's why it's a positive regulator. This cyclin, there can be a different levels of cyclin at different phases. At G1 phase, the cyclin D level is increasing. At S phase, cyclin E level increases. So this all changes with the different phases of the cycle. So the cyclin and the CDK complex, that is this complex, differs for each progression of each stage. That is, from S to G2, there is one pair. From G2 to M, there is another pair. So each phase requires a particular cyclin CDK pair. And the main concept about retinoblastoma protein is, normally the retinoblastoma protein is attached to the E2F transcription factor, as ma'am said. So if this is phosphorylated, so this whole complex, normally it will halt the cell cycle. But when there is ATP provided and when there is phosphorylation, this is going to be detached from the ETF, and now this can, and now the cell cycle is going to be advanced. So normally it is breaking the cell cycle, but when it is phosphorylating, it is actually advancing the cell cycle. So this is the role of retinoblastoma protein. What is about the P53? It's normally it is going to halt the cell cycle by down regulating the PCNA transcription. So it blocks the DNA polymerase and it arrests at G1 phase. This also arrests at G1 phase. This also arrests at G1 phase. So normally it is going to arrest the G1 phase by blocking the DNA polymerase. But when you're when you're adding phosphate, it is going to advance. So again, the same basic thing as like RB protein. And because increase in P53 levels, then there is also increase of P21, which inhibits the CDK cycling complexes and making it less likely to enter into the S phase. So this also is acting at G2 phase. This is all about the phases and the regulation of the cell cycle. A last topic, which is a clinical case. So can anyone tell me which case I'm talking about? This is a syndrome, most chromosomal anomaly. This is a chromosomal anomaly, and it's a syndrome which is characterized by decreased muscle tone, excess skin at nape of the neck, flattened nose, then single crease, Simon crease. Can anyone tell me what it is?
Down syndrome.
Yeah. Correct. So this is the case of Down syndrome. So this is the most common chromosomal anomaly, which is the autosomal chromosomal anomaly. So what are the diseases associated is first of all is cancer. That is uncontrolled cell division is called as cancer. So that is a main clinical aspect associated with the uncontrolled cell cycle. Next, there are many other chromosomal anomalies. It is due to the non-disjunction of the chromosomes at the various phases of the mitosis or during the meiosis. So these all are the Turner syndrome, Klinefelter's, the important one, that is the trisomy 21. It is the most common chromosomal anomaly, and these are the other chromosomal anomalies. Other diseases due to some of the defects in the cell cycle are Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, Huntington's disease, etc. So this is a brief thing about cell cycle. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, it's really good, ma. The checkpoints you have to mention, you have to clearly mention for biochemical aspects, you have to mention. Okay, cycling dependent kinases and all, you have to mention clearly. Okay, they're remaining very good. What I'm expecting, I expect you people from this clinical application. She clearly explained the clinical applications also. Very good. Keep it up. Shall we go for the next presentation? Shall we go for the next presentation, ma'am? Vinod?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you ready, ma'am? Why there is so only and I think you people are around 130 or 150, but only 17 people are here. What happened to others?
Is my screen visible, ma'am?
Yeah, it's visible, ma'am.
Okay, my topic is DNA repair. So first, why do we need these DNA repair mechanisms? Pam has explained that DNA proofreading has been done by DNA polymerases. In spite of that, error may occur. So, like incorrect base pairing or alteration or removal of nucleotide base pairs or due to damaging agents. Damaging agents like chemicals like nitrous acid, radiation like non-ionizing UV rays. These can cause fusion of pyrimidine adjacent to each other in DNA and can cause double-strand breaks and mutations and cancer may result. So these are the cause of DNA damage. Mainly UV light exposure, radiation, chemical exposure, and replication errors. So there are 4 types of DNA repair mechanism: mismatch repair, nucleotide excision repair, base excision repair, and double strand break. Hello? Hello?
Yes, pa, yes, pa.
Ma'am, is my screen visible?
No, ma, no, it's not visible. Now it's okay. Yes, start.
Where I stopped, where it got break, ma'am? From which slide, ma'am? Hello?
The types of DNA repair mechanism. Types.
Okay, types of DNA repair mechanism.
Yes.
There are 4 types of DNA repair mechanism: mismatch repair, nucleotide excision repair, base excision repair, and double strand break. When mismatch occurs, MUT protein, there is a protein called MUT protein, which identifies the mismatched nucleotide and must be able to discriminate between the correct strand and the mismatched strand. Usually, parent strand of the DNA is methylated by the DNA adenine methylase, but daughter strand is not methylated. So, by this, mismatched strand is identified by this MUT protein. Mismatched nucleotide is removed by the 3' 5' exonuclease activity of the DNA polymerase, and the gap is filled by the newly synthesized DNA using parent strand as a template by DNA polymerase 3. And the newly synthesized DNA is now joined to the remaining strand using DNA ligase. This is a pictorial representation. Yeah, you can see that parent strand is methylated and the daughter strand is not methylated. So by this, MUT protein will recognize the mismatched strand. So now this mismatched strand is removed by the endonuclease activity, and then new strand is synthesized and ligated with the help of DNA ligase. So here we have a clinical correlation. Mutation to the protein, that is MUT protein involved in mismatched repair in humans, is associated with hereditary non-polyposis colorectal cancer, also known as a Lynch syndrome. Although Lynch syndrome confers an increased risk of developing colon cancer, about only 5% of all colon cancer is a result of mutation in mismatched repair. Next, nucleotide excision repair. Exposure of a cell to the UV rays will cause formation of the thymine dimers. A nucleotide excision repair will prevent this unwanted mutation by removing vast majority of the UV induced DNA damage. So these are done by a group of 9 major proteins involved in nucleotide excision repair. These are XPA, XPB, XPC, XPD, E, F, and G, and CSA and B, where XP is a xeroderma pigmentosa disease which come in defect of that protein, and CS is a cocaine syndrome which also come under defect on that protein. So let's see what happens in nucleotide excision repair. So UV induced dimers are formed like thymine dimers most oftenly are produced in the daughter strand. Now these enzymes of the nucleotide excision repair identifies the mistake in the newly synthesized DNA, that is recognized by that original template DNA is not original DNA is methylated, and whereas the daughter strand is not methylated. So by this enzymes of nucleotide excision repair identifies the newly synthesized mismatched strand. Mismatched base is identified and removed along with the few bases around that area by the endonuclease activity of XPG. Small segment of DNA with the correct sequence is synthesized by the DNA polymerase beta. Now this segment, which is synthesized by the DNA polymerase, is sealed in the nick or gap by the DNA ligase. So here's the pyrimidine dimer formed by the UV rays. These are identified by the nucleotide excision repair proteins. These are removed by the DNA polymerase, and the newly synthesized DNA is nicked by the DNA ligase. This is an again picture. The old template strand contains methylated and newly synthesis is not unmethylated. So mismatched strand is identified. Portion is removed by endonuclease. Gap is filled by the DNA polymerase, and DNA ligase will seal the. So base excitation repair next. The DNA bases can be altered either spontaneously by the slow deamination or by action of the deaminating or alkylating agents like nitrous acid. Deamination of DNA occurs at the rate of 10,000 per cell per day. That is, where cytosine is deaminated to uracil and adenine is deaminated to hypoxanthine and guanine is deaminated to xanthine. So these are the unwanted bases which is found in DNA. So these are not a normal constants of DNA. So it is removed by the base excitation repair. So these abnormal DNA bases are identified in the DNA by the specific N-glycosylases. So these specific N-glycosylases will remove these abnormal bases, that is hypoxanthine, xanthine, and uracil. Now the sugar has no base, that is apurinic site or apyrimidine site is found, also referred to as AP site. So specific AP endonucleases recognize that base is missing and initiate the process of excision. Deoxyribose phosphate lyase removes the single base free sugar phosphate residue, and DNA polymerase 1 and DNA ligase complete the repair process by synthesizing a new strand and ligating in the gap. So here is DNA strand is deaminated. The uracil, uracil is found in the newly synthesized strand. This is removed by the DNA N glycosylases. Now the A basic sugar is found in the strand. This A basic sugar is removed by the AP endonucleases, and then new sugar and strand is synthesized by the DNA polymerase 1 and DNA ligase. Next is double strand break DNA. Ionizing radiation, chemotherapeutic agents, and oxidative free radicals can cause double strand break. Till now we saw about a single strand break in the DNA. That is, only single strand is mismatched and it is removed by the DNA repair mechanism. Here, both the double strands are got repaired and cannot jump off. That is non-homologous end joining and homologous recombination. Non-homologous end joining. Group of protein mediates the recognition and processing and ligation of the two ends. Both the terminal ends of the DNA, which is mismatched or breaks, are ligated. Recognize, process, and ligated. Whereas in homologous recombination, enzymes will perform genetic recombination as that between the homologous chromosome in the meiosis. And non-homologous end joining is prone to error and mutageny, whereas homologous recombination will be error-free because any DNA lost is replaced by the using homologous DNA as a template. Occurs then non-homologous end joining occurs at any time, whereas homologous recombination occurs at late S and G2 phase of cell cycle. Non-homologous end joining applied is defect in non-homologous end joining associated with predisposition to cancer and immunodeficiency syndrome. Mutation then homologous chromosome. Mutation in proteins involved in homologous chromosome increase risk of developing ovarian and breast cancer. Then disorders, xeroderma pigmentosa, a Greek term, xeros means dry and derma means skin. It is an autosomal recessive disease. Defect in nucleotide excision repair mechanism. Mutation in any of these 7 genes that we saw XPA to G necessary for nucleotide excision repair leads to this condition. UV rays forms diamine dimers in this, which results in mutation and leading to cancer. Some of the features of the xeroderma ubiquitous are they are sensitive to UV rays and sunlight causes skin blisters. They are a great chance of skin cancer, and prenatal diagnosis is possible for this disease. This is a picture of a patient with xeroderma pigmentosa. And ataxia telangiectasia, it is an autosomal recessive disorder. They are sensitive to UV rays, and the features are cerebellar ataxia, telangiectasia in eyes, and reticular neoplasm. This is a telangiectasia in eyes. And some other disease of the DNA repair mechanism defect. Fanconi anemia, defect in DNA cross-link repair, that is mismatch repair. And Bloom's disease, defect in DNA ligase or DNA helicase. Cockayne syndrome, defect in nucleotide excision repair mechanisms, stunt growth and mental retardation. We saw that two protein CS1A and CSB in nucleotide excision repair mechanism. So if there is a defect in that, Cockayne syndrome will occur, and then Lynch syndrome, mismatch repair defect. And this is a summary of the DNA repair mechanism. DNA repairs occurs. It is caused by imperfect proofreading, normal chemical changes, and environmental insults. DNA damage is repaired by excision repair or non-homologous enjoining or homologous recombination repair. Excision repair is corrected by nucleotide excision repair, base excision repair, and double strand breaks are corrected by non-homologous enjoining repair and homologous recombination. And thank you.
Good, Mr. Vinod. How any idea how we can do for a prenatal diagnosis of the diseases? Any idea? Anybody?
Ma'am, via chorionic well line sampling or amniocentesis.
Yeah, good. Anybody aware of this gene therapy for the particular diseases so far? Gene therapy. Gene therapy.
Ma'am, to replace the defective gene, the part is replaced by retroviral vectors, and then corrective gene is infused into the stem cells.
Okay, that is another trial basis is going. So many studies going for a trial basis. Whatever you have told me, no. So apart from this, any other gene therapy is current available and successful treatment for a particular disease? Any idea? ADA. Yeah, somebody's right. Shruti, ADH. It's ADH. Yeah, it's right. Adenosine deaminase.
ADA deaminase deficiency.
Yeah, it is current available and it's also successful for the treatment also. Okay, so very happy to interact with you people, but the number of the candidates is very less. That is an that is worried about me, and the remaining things all are actively participated. For example, Vinod and Arvind. The remaining the candidate Gayatri and Monishanal not at all open their even chat their views to us. And thank you everyone, and thanks Shanmugha Pandian, your class representative. Thanks, ma. Thank you so much. You can share your positive, negative feedback with Shanmugha Pandian, or you can put it in the chat box also. I will wait for 2 minutes. The remaining you can go. You can put it in the chat box, pa.